Inside the federal courtroom in Washington, D.C., Donald Trump pleads not guilty to 4 felony counts tied to an alleged plot to overturn the 2020 election he lost. Good evening. I'm Todd McDermott.
And I'm Felicia Rodriguez. Thank you for joining us. This is the 3rd time Trump has been arraigned on criminal charges so far this year. Ari Height joining us live in the studio with how the hearing went. Ari?
Former President Donald Trump flew from his New Jersey home to Washington, D.C. today, where he was officially arrested and processed. He was fingerprinted. The judge asked him a few questions like his name and his age. And then Donald Trump told that judge he is not guilty of these charges. There were no surprises at the arraignment of former President Donald Trump. As expected, he pled not guilty to all 4 charges connected to allegations that he interfered with the election in 2020. The judge then explained the maximum penalty for those charges could be 55 years in prison. Could be, but local experts say definitely will not be.
What are the chances that even if he is found guilty, Donald Trump actually gets sentenced to 55 years in federal prison?
None. Basically none.
The chances of Trump getting 55 years in prison are 0.
Dave Arenberg is the state attorney in Palm Beach County. Richard Serafini is a criminal defense attorney in South Florida and a former prosecutor with the Department of Justice. They both say max penalties will not come into play in this case. After the hearing, both the former president and one of his attorneys lashed out at the White House.
This is a persecution of a political opponent. This was never supposed to happen in America.
This is the Biden political lawfare that we have seen time and time again.
But both Serafini and Arenberg say even if that's true, it will not hold up as a defense in a court of law.
I don't see how. I honestly don't see how. That sounds like a political statement to me.
You can say anything you want in the court of public opinion, but it is a bogus legal defense. It is not a defense.
Arenberg says he instead believes Trump's attorneys could present a defense saying the former president was just expressing his First Amendment rights. And they might also say the former president was just listening to the advice of his attorneys. Arenberg says either one of those defenses would probably require Trump to take the stand. Reporting live, Ari Height, WPBF 25 News.
Ari, thank you for that. This is one of 3 criminal trials Donald Trump now faces, with a 4th looming. Trump indicted now on 40 federal counts in South Florida for allegedly mishandling and lying about top secret and classified documents, including a U.S. military plan of attack on Iran and 2 counts of trying to alter, destroy, mutilate, or conceal evidence. In New York, he was indicted in March on charges stemming from an alleged cover-up of hush money payments made to porn actress Stormy Daniels just before the 2016 election. And in Fulton County, Georgia, District Attorney Fani Willis has signaled an indictment of Trump for illegally trying to reverse Georgia's 2020 election results is close. Tonight, the sheriff there announced the streets around the courthouse will close down starting Monday. Trump faces a civil case as well in New York, where Attorney General Letitia James sued him and his company for allegedly misleading banks and tax authorities about the value of Trump assets. Make sure to download our free WPBF 25 mobile app to get the latest information. We'll continue to cover each of these criminal cases in detail throughout all the proceedings.